All right, another one of these workouts where I'm going to be trying to talk throughout. So, what I have in store right now is about 3 minutes, easy 3 minutes on the Airdyne here. And then I'm going to do 8 sets of 2 minutes of work, 1 minute recovery, and then maybe a 3 minute cool down towards the end. Uh, yeah, anyway, that's what I'm going to try for today, which means once I get onto those working sets of 2 minutes, obviously I'm going to be working for it. I'm not going to be talking as much. Let's see how much I can get in. But if you manage to watch through this entire video, awesome. Thank you for sticking around. Otherwise, you jump right off. Hell, I don't. Not a big deal to me. If anything, talking throughout the workout here is, I wouldn't say a therapeutic thing for me. It'll help me pass the time, anyhow. As much as I like my endurance training, doesn't mean I like my endurance training stationary. I like to be outside, moving, or moving in general, not being stuck in one spot. I had a intention of going to the track today, but combination of just timing and there's a track meet, high school track meet going on today. I wouldn't have been able to do what I intended. And since I was going to be coming to Redline today anyhow, might as well shift gears, do something else, a backup plan, if you will. I always try to have that. As much as I have a plan of what I want to do, I'm not going to be married to the plan. If I gotta switch gears, I'll switch gears if necessary. I've been having my go-to workouts I've been doing anyhow, so it's not as if I'm coming up with anything completely new. But in about 15 seconds here, I'm going to start my first work set of 2 minutes. So again, 2 minutes of work, 1 minute of rest. Well, not rest, but of recovery. Here we go. So speed-wise, since this machine is set in imperial measurements, I'm going to try to hold high 23s, low 24s during the work set of 2 minutes. And then during the recovery set of 1 minute, I'm not going to go too easy. Speed-wise, I'll try to keep it above 20 throughout the 1 minute set. That's what I did last time I did this particular workout, which I think was about 2 weeks ago or so. So 8 times I'm going to do this set. This workout session will end up being about 30 minutes, no more than 30 minutes total. Work time itself will be 16 minutes. Two minutes times 8. That's how I got the 16. Now, this is the first set, so obviously I'm able to talk, but as I progress through this particular this particular workout, it's going to get a little harder for me to talk throughout the 2 minute set without having to gasp for some air. All right, 2 minutes done. I'm on my 1 minute recovery. I'm gonna try to keep the speed at above 20. So I'm not trying to go too easy. still doing something. So what I'm trying to do with this particular workout is a balance of pushing it, but not going all out through the 2-minute set. And then the 1-minute set, I'm not going too easy either, but easy enough. So it all comes down to pacing. Trying to figure out my pacing, what I can get away with, how can I manage my energy throughout the set, so that towards the end, towards the back half, I can push a bit more. So again, my goal is to try to be around high 23s, low 24s for the 2-minute set in terms of my speed on this assault bike, the Airdyne, depending on what you want to call it. This one's actually called Airdyne. 2-minute set, here we go. So high 23s, so that's like, to me, that's 23.7 to low 24s. I call it 20, between 23.7 and 24.3 is the speed I want to try to maintain for the 2-minute set. I want to try to do that for the first 4 or 5. And then on the back half, push it a little bit more. I'm actually around mid 24s right now. Not even a minute into the set. Let's see. Maybe I'll play around with that. Pacing yourself at a higher intensity. It's always a fine balance of trying to not do too much. Where you pass that threshold. I'll talk about that, a bit more about that on the next recovery set. Another 10 seconds here. All right, 2 minutes is done. Most of that set I was able to do between 24 and 24 and a half. It's only the second set, so we'll see if I'm doing this right. If I'm getting a bit too gung-ho initially, or if I'm able to hold through. But as I was saying earlier in terms of threshold, when you're pushing your limits for an endurance event, and I would count the POPAT test as an endurance event, even on that short end of, if anyone's getting a 3-minute time on the POPAT, even at 3 minutes, that's still an endurance event. But it does require a high level of stamina to be able to pull something off like that. But again, it's trying to find that right balance of you're pushing your limitations. Third round, 2 minutes has begun. It's all about finding that balance of pushing hard enough where you're near that red line, if you will, but not go beyond that line. Because once you dip beyond the red line and you're trying to push it hard the entire way, you're not going to last very long at that point. That's where, sorry for my language. That's where the difference between aerobic training and anaerobic training. Aerobic training doesn't just mean that it's easy work. It's actually quite a wide range of abilities that you can do, of power, if you will, that you can do aerobically. And anaerobic too, there's a range that you can work around. You can increase that range, but I would argue it's a much smaller range that you can develop as compared to the aerobic side of things. And so that line, that threshold, that red line, if you will, once you pass that point, that's basically you going from the aerobic side to the anaerobic. You generally can't last very long on the anaerobic side of things. I mean, depending on your abilities, that could be a 45 seconds to maybe a minute and a half, maybe even 2 minutes tops. Even that would be a bit of a stretch. When you look at 800-meter runners as an example. All right. Even when you look at elite 800-meter runners, like essentially they're doing 2 minutes for 800 meters. And as fast as they're going, as much as they dip into their anaerobic side, it's not all anaerobic. They're still working their aerobic system, just high-end aerobic system. And so that's what we're doing in these tests. POPAT test, pair, COPAT, whichever physical test you're doing, if it's, more than 2 minutes long, you're working aerobically. You're not working anaerobically, at least not only anaerobically. So anyone who's saying that all your training for something like these tests should be anaerobic training, not gonna call it BS, but they're kind of missing an important part, that you have to develop the aerobic side. You gotta develop it as much as you can. There's much more range that you can do to develop your aerobic abilities compared to your anaerobic. Right, so part of the reason I'm able to do what I can do for POPAT tests or any of these other tests is because I've had years of developing my aerobic capacity, my aerobic power. So when we're looking at something like the POPAT, I'm working the high end of my aerobic capabilities. I'm working the aerobic power at that point. But I'm not necessarily dipping into the anaerobic, at least not so soon. The time I dip into the anaerobic is when I'm at the end. When I'm at that vault, and I'm just giving her at that point. Because I know it's the end. I know that I pace myself well enough, I manage my energy well enough that I can still push hard. Despite how tired I am, I can still push hard at the end. So this particular workout I'm doing, I'm pushing it in these 2 minute sets. I'm not going all out. And you can tell I'm pushing it because I'm having to take some breaks in between my words. But I'm not pushing it so hard that I can't talk whatsoever. So I still got the ability to talk. But it's not like I'm having an easy conversation. If I was pushing this at a low enough level, an easy, more conversational pace, then yeah, you'd be hearing me talk more normally, if you will. Right now, pretty sure you can hear it. I'm taking gas in between each breath. All right, so I've done 4 sets. Last couple sets there, I was between 24 and 24 and a half still. So we'll see on these next bit. I'll maybe push a little bit more. So not all training has to be high intensity in the sense that you feel so drained by the end of the workout. Every so often, you want to do those kinds of workouts where you're pushing it so hard that, okay, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say drained, but man, you definitely need to recover the next day. You want those every so often, but you don't want that every workout. Because how you're going to improve your abilities is not through the workout itself. It's how well you're recovering. And the quicker you can recover, the more training you can do. Doesn't necessarily mean more in high intensity, but you're able to put in more work, more volume. I was actually looking at my training for the past month and a half in terms of my conditioning training, which I've been doing anywhere from 2 to 3 a week. It's actually been half and half high intensity, half low to moderate intensity. But even the high intensity, like I'm classing high intensity as on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being easy, 10 being hard. I class my high intensity as between 8 and 10. Or I guess really 8 and 9 out of 10. 10 out of 10 would be very, very intense. So about half my conditioning is about 8, I would say more so 8, I wouldn't say 9 out of 10. And then the other half I would put as between 5 and 7 out of 10. So lower intensity, I'm still getting work. There's benefit to doing a range of intensities in training and not just sticking to one or the other. So you don't want all your training to be high intensity, but at the same time, you don't want all your training to be low intensity either. Now, there might be periods where the majority of it is either low intensity or the majority of it is high intensity. But those, at least the high intensity stuff, you want those to be in a shorter period of time. Like 2, 3 weeks, maybe 4, but I would say like 2, 3 weeks tops doing high intensity work. So that's on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being easy, 10 being hard, I'd be like an 8 out of 10 minimum. In terms of the lower intensity stuff, low to moderate intensity, you want that to be more so the majority of your training. So sometimes you'll hear people saying like, oh, all I did before I prepared for my test was, like easy 5K runs or 30-minute low moderate intensity cardio. And then I did my test and it sucked, so I started doing high intensity. And next time I passed. I mean, you'll hear those stories. We get those stories here all the time. Now, I'm not discounting that what they did work, because it did. But it doesn't mean that in the long term, it's going to be benefiting them. I gotta pay attention to my intensity right now. I'm kind of losing a bit. So just try to get back to what I was saying before. You have some people who were only doing low to moderate intensity, and then they confuse higher intensity mix, and now they're doing better. Well, it makes sense because they've stimulated the body in a way that wasn't stimulated before. So now it's trying to catch up. It's trying to make up and improve itself so that next time you push it, it's easy. Or not easy, sorry. So I'm starting to push it a bit more. I'm kind of distracting myself here, so if my thoughts sound like they're rambling, Probably just because I'm now starting to push things intensity wise, getting a little harder to maintain the low 24s at this point, which is to be expected. So I've done 6 sets, I got 2 more to go. That last one there, when I got focused back onto the set, I was able to start pushing 25, so I'm going to see if I can start pushing between 24 and a half and 25 during the work sets. And so if you hear me go quiet at that point, it's because I'm trying to push it. Now on the flip side, I've also known people who've only done high intensity stuff. And then we switch up. We not switch up, but rather than doing all high intensity, you might replace one of those with a lower intensity workout. And they'll benefit from it. Or at least some of the harder workouts that they're doing, the goal isn't to go 100%, but more that 80-85% of maximum effort for whatever distance or time interval they're doing. All right, I gotta stay focused here. Right now I'm low 25s to mid 25s. I'm gonna try to keep that for the final minute of this work set. I'm gonna have to stay focused on it. Once I lose focus, I start dropping. Oh. Okay, maintain 20 on this one. So I got one more set of 2 minutes. I was able to hold between 25 and 25 and a half speed wise on the Airdyne there. So I'm gonna try to hold 25 to 25 and a half for the first minute and see if I can push it towards 26 for the final minute of the set. Now, as much as I mentioned earlier that I don't like being stationary, I've actually grown to enjoy the Airdyne bike these past few months. I like it because I can involve my upper body with this movement rather than it only being legs. All right, final one. And the thing with the Airdyne is the more you try to push the effort, the harder it is, or the harder it gets. So, final set here. You have to stay focused. I'm at least 26 right now. Got about 30 seconds to go here. This is me dipping into anaerobic now. All right, 1 minute. Try to keep it above 20, and then I'll do an easy 3-minute cool down. My heart rate there, at least 190, probably mid 195. For me, that's definitely going anaerobic. Not completely though, not completely anaerobic, but definitely getting there. All right, 3 minutes easy. Oh, real easy. I don't care what the speed is. I just want it to be easy. But on that 1 minute of recovery, heart rate was still above 180. So I'm pushing it. I'm pushing it. So the reason I'm able to do what I can do, even at my age now, so I'm 39. What's today? Today's May 2nd. I'm 39, turning 40 in October, hence road to 240 for the Popat. And even at this age, I'm still able to pull essentially a 3-minute Popat time. And again, that's because of years and years of endurance training for myself. If I look back as to when I started to take the running more seriously, it'd be grade 9 track for me. And that was, well, that particular year, that was 2000. 2025 now, so that's 25 years. Now, I wouldn't say that's 25 straight years of dedicated training in day in and day out. But there's certainly periods where I wasn't doing much in the way of training. That's something else. And the longest period of training, or of no training, would be pretty much from summer 2023 till I'd say beginning of this year. About a year and a half, pushing 2 of very inconsistent training. And I still, when I got back into the Popat, still had the ability to pull off, what was it, 312, I think was my first Popat on this road to 240. And again, that's just from years, really decades of endurance training. So high school, from grade 9 onwards, I did track. I did cross country, grade 10 onwards. Played basketball the last couple of years of high school. All right, that's it. And then throughout my 20s, most of my 20s, basically almost a decade long of triathlon training. And then starting my 30s, kind of on and off with training here and there, depending on family life and just life responsibilities. But it's still essentially decades of training, and that's again why I'm able to pull off what I can pull off. So it takes time to really develop the high end of your abilities when it comes to endurance training. It takes time, and you need to be patient with that. So be patient. Look at this as a lifelong journey when you're thinking of fitness. Look at it as a lifelong journey rather than just as a means to an end. And as long as you can keep yourself consistent and you minimize whatever downturns there may be in life, which there will be, if you can minimize that as much as possible by staying as consistent as possible, then yes, you may lose some fitness, but you're not going to lose it all. So if you enjoyed this, let me know. Leave a comment below, or feel free to email me at marc@rlconditioning.ca, and yeah, I'll probably start posting more and more of these. So in the meantime, take care. Have a good one.